In less than 48 hours' time, Newcastle United travel to the horrible city of Sunderland to play, in this case, the We Are Tyne derby, and I can't wait. On a personal level, it's the first ever time when I'm conscious of watching a derby. The last time I was 8 years old, maybe. But look, without further ado, it's Newcastle United versus Sunderland match preview, and it's a derby like no other. Both teams have got 53 derby wins each, which may I just say is unbelievable. 53 derby wins each, so not only is it a win for bragging rights, but it's the ultimate bragging rights. Whoever wins, of course, or if it goes to a draw, there has to be a winner in the second round, though, will win the most derbies overall. It's not been played in 7 years. The anticipation is at an all-time high. The contrast in quality between the two teams is probably like never before. I don't know if any sort of all Newcastle fans can tell me if there was ever this big of a different sort of contrast in quality between the two teams. We are absolute miles above them, and before we get into the match preview, we should be absolutely battering Sunderland. But without further ado, let's take a look at Sunderland's form this season, our cup form in general, Sunderland's cup form in general, and absolutely everything about this game, and Eddie Howe wants to make sure that he wins this. Without further ado, let's get into the match preview. Right then, lads and lasses, how we doing, and welcome back to the channel. I can't wait for this one. Sunderland in 48 hours time, the dirty, horrible Sunderland. It's a big one, and me, I just say on a personal level, yet again, it's the first ever time I'm conscious of actually watching a derby. The last time, of course, I would have watched it, but I was 8-9 years old. I can't remember a thing. Of course, I can remember the scoreline, 1-1, with Alexander Mitrovic scoring and nearly falling over a fan afterwards. But this is the first ever time in my lifetime, of course, I've just basically turned 17 years old, that I can see us play Sunderland. And for all those years, let's be real, they've been rotten in League One, in the Championship, but they have had the bragging rights in my lifetime at least. They've won the 6 in a row. We haven't beat them in the last 9 games we've played them. It's pretty embarrassing from Newcastle, but Christ almighty, is this a chance to take them bragging rights back, to turn this whole sort of 6 in a row thing, I know it isn't 6 in a row anymore, sort of idea around. We should absolutely be slapping them for 5 with the quality that we've got. Alexander Isak going up against, I'm genuinely being honest, is it Luke O'Nien who's the centre-back? I'm not even trying to be arrogant or anything like that, because I think it is a bit childish, but I barely know any of their players. Probably contrast that I don't watch a lot of the Championship. But let's take a look at how Sunderland have done this season, and before we actually get into it, does it matter what form they're on? It's Sunderland. Doesn't matter what form Newcastle's on. Of course, we are on terrible form. 7 losses in our last 8 games. 1 win in our last 8 games. 1 win in our last 10 away games. Absolutely terrible. For that sort of aspect, Sunderland will be licking their lips at that. But of course, we've got the better quality. And what I'm sort of saying is, does form matter in this game? Does quality matter? Of course it does in this game. But when it's a derby, all form goes out the window. It's determined by who turns up on the day. Is Sunderland going to be up for it more with being at home? Is Newcastle going to have to overcome the crowd, overcome the players, and as we should with the quality we've got, and absolutely batter them? But without talking about it, let's take a look at how Sunderland have done this season. But yet again, take it with a pinch of salt. It's a derby. Anything can happen. Sunderland this season, of course, are in the playoffs of the Championship. They should really be being there. They shouldn't have been in League One for 4 years. Terrible standards of a club, may I just add. They are 6th in the Championship this season. And to be fair, right, since they've got Michael Beale, I'm not just saying this because they are Sunderland, but they look so inconsistent. They lost the first home game, I believe it was, to Coventry 3-0, losing 3-0 at home. We did lose 3-1 at home to Nottingham Forest, may I just say. But none of the fans seem to be so confident in Michael Beale, and they are 7th for home form in the Championship. Maybe a little bit of exploitation for Newcastle United, not picking up the most points at home rather than away. I believe they actually are lower than away form, but it's just a sort of contrast of the Championship. What does put them there? They've won 8 games out of 13, I believe it is, in the Championship this season. But yet again, they've beat Leeds there, they've lost to Coventry there, they've lost to Huddersfield there. So if Newcastle turn up, it's all we need to do. If Newcastle turn up in this game, we'll bring with Alexander Isaks, we'll bring with Bruno's, we'll bring with Kieran Trippier's, we'll bring with Botman's, we'll bring with Joe Linton's, we'll go out there and we should absolutely battle them. There's no excuse for it, and I'm going to get on to later in the video why this is an absolute pearl of a chance for Newcastle to turn this horrific form out. Some of the fans who felt, not me personally, but have felt a little bit annoyed with Eddie Howe, maybe wanted to look elsewhere. For me, absolutely not, but some fans have definitely been left a little bit angry, a little bit underwhelmed, and not what we've wanted to get so far. We have got, I mean, yet again, 7 losses out of 8. If there's ever a time to turn it around, it is now. And one thing which does worry me about Newcastle is our horrific FA Cup run in the Carabao Cup. Absolutely fantastic. We've come up against, is it 7 Premier League teams in a row? Was it Crystal Palace? We got Tranmere first last season in the Carabao Cup, then it was Crystal Palace or Bournemouth. Them 2 teams, of course. Then Leicester, Southampton, Man United, and then this season we got Manchester City, Man United. So that's 8 teams there in itself, and I may even be missing one. But Newcastle United's not Carabao Cup, FA Cup run, and we've been knocked out from the third round for 4 years in a row. That's pretty terrible, lads. So under Eddie Howe, Newcastle United have never ever progressed from the round that we sort of qualify in. It's terrible. And when you look at the teams we've played as well, it rubs salt into the wounds. Yet again, in that sort of aspect, Sunderland will be licking their lips. In the first one, under Eddie Howe in the FA Cup, of course, there was a sort of round before that, the year before when we were under Steve Bruce, in against Arsenal. Arsenal away, I believe it was. We lost there yet again in the third round. But the 2 FA Cup third round matches that Eddie Howe has had at Newcastle United, they've been woeful. The first one, I can remember this, just like it's been ingrained in my head for so long. 1-0 at home, a loss to Cambridge. I think it was actually a Geordie that scored, Joe Ironside. Terrible from Newcastle. That was in Kieran Trippier's debut? It may have been one of his first games, but how can you lose at home to Cambridge, a League One side, in the FA Cup with Kieran Trippier on the pitch? That was shocking from Newcastle, let's be real. I think our main objective from that season was just to stay up, though. And of course, we all know what happened in the next season. We lost 2-1 away at Sheffield Wednesday, another League One club at the time. I think was it a Geordie? No, it was Josh Windass. I don't know if he does support Newcastle. I don't know why something like that's in my head. But of course, Josh Windass, Dean Windass's son, scored a brace to knock Newcastle out of the FA Cup third round. It's not historically good for Newcastle in the 3-year recent time, of course. And we've got another League One club, I'm joking. Of course, we've got a Championship side. And yet again, we should just be battering Sunderland. It's as simple as it is. Eddie Howe, the players, Dan Burn, Paul Dummett, Sean Longstaff, the Geordies need to ingrain in the players. You cannot lose this game. We're out of the Carabao Cup. We're out of the Champions League. We are winless in not our last 7 games, but of course, we've won 1 in our last 8 games. If you go out and lose this game, oh my God, there'll be absolute hell on for every single staff. No matter how much you love Newcastle United, Newcastle United is my life. I adore it every single day. I've got everything connected with it, from my bed sheets to my phone case to what I look at every single day, just to absolutely everything. The clothes I wear, the jackets I have, it's absolutely everything. But I tell you what, things are going to turn sour if Newcastle lose to Sunderland after being out of 2 cups, after winning 1 game in the last 10. If we lose to them lot while we have this much quality and they are in the Championship, not even doing that well, it would be an absolute outrage. But we've seen Newcastle's third round sort of history. Now for Sunderland, look, I'm reading it off the screen to my right. Newcastle's doesn't look good. For them, actually, last season, they got further than us, which for some sort of cases, Sunderland can never ever say they've been on a longer cup run than Newcastle. But it does look a bit embarrassing from them after that. I'm looking at it on the right of my screen here. Last season, they got the 4th round of the FA Cup against Fulham. I think they drew 1-1 at Fulham's ground and then they brought it back to theirs and lost somehow. Typical Sunderland. And the year before that, they lost, I believe it was away, correct as if I'm wrong, both the times they were away, I think, that they lost to Mansfield 1-0 in the first round. The year before that, they lost to Mansfield 1-0 in the first round. The year before that, they lost to Gillingham in the first round. The year before that, they lost to Walsall in the second round. I mean, talk about Newcastle losing to League One teams. Walsall, Gillingham and Mansfield. Christ almighty, them clubs are in the mud and they're losing to them. Look, it does look pretty decent for Newcastle. Everything is going our way, apart from the away form, apart from being at Sunderland's ground. We've got the quality, we've got the better manager, we know how we can play. It hasn't been working recently, but Christ almighty, yet again, after 1 win in 8, if there's one game to ever turn it around of, and yes, they're doing the old sort of get a new manager, pick up form from that, but if there's ever a sort of game to turn our form around, to make our season great, because let's be real, it's probably the game of the season. Some of them may say, oh, you still care about little old Sunderland. Well, of course we do. Do you know what I mean? We don't care about yous, but we absolutely despise yous, and that's what I hate about the sort of when Sunderland and Newcastle fans say, you're obsessed with us. We're not obsessed with you. It's a derby. Do you think we're going to lay off you because we've got all the money now, because we're competing in the Champions League and the top of the Premier League, and you were rotting away in League One? Do you think we're just going to not talk about you? And if you've got us in a derby and you beat us when you were in League One and we've got all this money, you would have never stopped talking about it for years and years on end. So just stop with that obsessed thing. Look, we're a derby for a reason. We absolutely despise each other. It's the best derby in England for the passion for the respective clubs and the hatred for each other. There's no other derby like it. So I don't know why people say obsessed. Of course, we're going to absolutely pile onto them after every single loss. Not that we do mind, because it's pretty often that they do lose. Pretty hypocritical as we've lost a fair few games in the last recent. But look, we went 21 games unbeaten last season. We've got the moral high ground here. But like I said at the start of the video, Newcastle are now winless in the last 9 meetings with Sunderland. We need to turn that around, mind, and just go out there and beat them 5-0. I don't know if I'm doing a live watch along. Of course, I will keep these posted on all of my social medias for the game. I don't know if I want to go out with the pub with it, just so I can kind of embrace it more, because honestly, I'm a Newcastle fan. I know I'm a content creator, but there's nothing more that I want to do than rub it in their dirty little faces. All these years they've been piping up, blood money, we've beat you 6 in a row, you can't catch, we can't catch you because he's been in League One for 4 years, because he's still in the Championship, and as soon as we got yous in the FA Cup, it's a free hit, they should be beaten with, it's embarrassing if they don't. Where's your respect gone, lads? Yous are getting it. Fingers crossed Newcastle can absolutely thump them for a final score prediction. I'm going to go Newcastle United 4, Sunderland 0. Fingers crossed we can. Honestly, I would take it as a defeat if we only won 1-0, or if we drew to them, or if we conceded to them. I'd be pretty disappointed in Newcastle. There's completely different level of standards in the team. We should be going out there and beating them no matter what. I don't want to hear anyone cutting the team some slack. We've got injuries, blah, 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 blah. This is Sunderland, a Championship opposition. The players should know what this means to us. It means absolutely everything. You're out with 2 cups. We're not doing well in the Premier League. Go out and absolutely batter them, lads. That's the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Fingers crossed we can win for the derby. Whatever you're going to do, people, go and enjoy your day.